Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a very special edition report. Of course, today we'll speak all about Donnarumma and his decision just a few days ago. And I will be joined by Adamo Ritako, of course, a bit later on into this live stream. But before I start speaking about Donnarumma, I think I have some things to clear up myself because I've been reading comments, I've been reading posts on Twitter. Lots of people didn't know where I was, didn't know what was happening to the channel, and I do agree. I should have at least made a video to concern you guys of really what's happening on Rossoneri TV and why I have been absent from making videos. And of course, it's been some very eventful weeks at Milan with many players being signed and so forth, and Adamo did a beautiful job this week to cover all of that, so thank you for that, Adamo. But yeah, I'm going to be speaking about the major reason as to why I wasn't making any videos and how it's going to be for the next months at least. Pretty much main reason here is that I have started working full-time, so I'm barely home at the moment, and whenever I do get a little chance, it's just a little pit stop at home and then I'm out again. So major reason as to why I haven't been able to really keep up with the videos, or mainly haven't been posting, is because of that. And I have mentioned it to a few people already, but I'm sure the majority of you guys didn't know what was going on with myself and the channel. But this is really the thing. Life, it's something that could get busy at any time, and that's exactly what is going on at the moment. It's gonna go on for, I don't know how long, but it's going to be months and months that we're going to be going with this. So I'm sure we're going to try to find some sort of arrangement for the channel in terms of videos coming. It's most likely not going to be daily videos anymore, that's for sure. Me and Adamo are trying to sort something out where I could at least try to make one video on the weekend and he's gonna update you guys during the week, but we're still in talks on how we're gonna really bring out videos to you guys to keep you updated. But that's pretty much the situation. At least you guys know what is happening to Rossoneri TV at the moment and what is happening with me. I am not dead like many people were saying. I am alive, and Rossoneri TV will also always be alive. It will always keep running. It would always stay there for you guys to have some sort of platform to talk between each other during the week in terms of transfer news. Even though sometimes we might miss out on a video or two, it's always a place where you guys could come in and interact with each other in terms of the news. But that's it. That's about it. It's time to talk about something way more important now, and that is, of course, Donnarumma. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Adamo Ritako to the stream. Adamo, thank you for joining me.
What is up?
So yes, we heard the big news this week that Donnarumma has rejected his renewal to keep staying at Milan, and of course, what was offered by Milan was a 5-year contract worth about 5 million euros net. So that is without taxes. He was actually going to be getting 5 million euros every season, but unfortunately he rejected it, and a lot of question marks, not only from you guys but also from myself, were out there. And personally, I still have a hard time believing this because for what Donnarumma always mentioned throughout his playing time at Milan, where he wanted to stay, he wanted to become a legend at the club, he wanted to become the captain of this team. It was his childhood dream, like he has stated many times. I just cannot wrap my head around these declarations from Donnarumma and his refusal of staying at Milan and bringing them to glory. So personally, I just cannot believe this. I have a hard time really making any sense out of it. And also the fact that, he's an 18-year-old kid still, because that's what he is. With his attitude, he was about to earn 5 million euros per season at his favorite club, and he rejects such a thing. Personally, I would even go play free at Milan if it's my childhood dream. I can't believe the sort of selfishness really from many players in our current era, and that's what it is. Back then, players used to play at the club, whichever club in general, for the prestige of the club, and like we have seen with many Milan legends that came out this week and bashed Donnarumma, which I may add correctly, because it's if you want to become a legend at the club, you have to make sacrifices, and this is not even a sacrifice, to be honest, because 5 million euros, that to me is a lot of money for someone that only played, I think, about 50 to 55 games with Milan so far. So I'm not quite sure what he was expecting. I personally think that it's something more than just the money, because, like I said, it's a lot of money. I don't think that's the only reason as to why Donnarumma rejected this offer. But there's definitely other factors out there, and one of them, I think, is his agent. Of course, he manages a lot of players out there, such as Ibrahimovic, Pogba, and so forth, Amshik as well. I was reading comments from people on Twitter in these past few days saying, yes, Raiola could have such a particular say in this whole thing, but at the end, it's the player that makes the final decision. And I completely agree because, like Amshik, he was staying at least, 10 years at Napoli from what I remember, and he never really got influenced by the agent to move elsewhere to earn more money. He stayed at Napoli, he did this job, he did this part, and he never thought of leaving the club. For Donnarumma, he could have done the same thing, but like I said, beside just the agent, I think his family also played a part. And there was also a very interesting read that I read today concerning Donnarumma and its first ever agent. Even before Mino Raiola, he was stating the whole story, the whole situation with how Donnarumma even ended up joining Milan in the first place when he was younger. Of course, if you guys are unaware, he was actually followed by Inter beforehand for at least 3 to 4 years before his parents and himself had fly to Milan to sign the deal with Inter. And I think what they actually did was sign the deal, and the day after they flew back to Napoli, where they are originally from, and forgot all about it, and they went to join Milan instead. And in this sort of way, the agent was saying, I wasn't surprised of how Donnarumma rejected this, given the history of him and his family doing things like this in this fashion. But definitely lots of criticism going towards Donnarumma these past couple of days, not only towards him, towards the family, messages sent on his Instagram. His brother had to come out on Instagram to write a post saying that they have a family that values life in general, that they should not be bashing him, this and that. But in all honesty, I have a pretty hard time understanding why he did this, and he still hasn't released any declarations, but it seems that he's having, or at least he's living, a pretty miserable time at the moment, given the fact that everyone was or is against him, and just a few days ago, everyone loved this kid like a son, like a brother, something else. But that is pretty much the current situation. Adamo, I would like to know your thoughts on the whole situation, what you think about the whole thing, maybe even some comments on how you think Raiola affected this whole thing, and where do you see maybe Donnarumma joining, or where do you see him actually being next season, whether he's going to be staying at Milan, because let's not forget, he still has a year left on his contract, and Milan is actually considering not selling him for the moment, and that means that he will pretty much rot on the bench for next season. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Where do we start? I mean, everybody's been talking about Donnarumma and how he's sort of snaked his way out of Milan. I made the reference to Kevin Durant because the guy plays against Golden State in the finals, loses in the NBA, of course, if you guys are unaware. Loses, joins Golden State because they're obviously the best team in the NBA, and then wins a championship because he just betrayed his team just to go win a championship. So if you ask me, I think the only destination for Donnarumma, unless there's something else going on, is Real Madrid. Now, the other factor is that Madrid really, really are interested in David De Gea, of course. So, maybe you could be thinking that De Gea goes to Madrid, Donnarumma goes to Manchester United. There's also been talks of PSG where reportedly he's rejected a blank check offer from PSG where he could have made any amount of money that he wished. So it goes to show that, as the point that you made earlier, he's being offered $5 million a season from Milan. He's being offered a blank check from PSG. So is money really the factor? I don't think it is. I think, maybe it's something that Raiola set up this game in his head where, which he's a fool for accepting, of course, if it is the case, where, if you go to Madrid, you can start off young, you'll win a Champions League in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll be a legend, all this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then Raiola will get his nice agent fees and, all that, it'll all be nicey nice. And then he'll probably say, you can return to Milan later, they'll still accept you as a legend, blah, 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 clouding his head with all these bullshit thoughts, as an agent should do, because that's his job, of course, to try to get him the best deal possible, which would be joining a team like Real Madrid. But, you have to think, if you're Donnarumma, what are you doing that you're leaving your boyhood club where you just turned 18? He's practically still 17 if you really consider all factors. And, after just, a season and a half or something like that, he's already decided to leave the club that he said he wanted to be the captain of, and that he wanted to lead to glory, win a Champions League, all this and that. And, it makes you really question, because a lot of people have been saying, how great that Milan have been doing in the transfer market with Mirabelli and Fassone. The Chinese investors have been delivering. So what is it that he doesn't have faith in? Is it, does he not believe what's going on in Milan? Is Raiola having problems with the new owners? Like, is there something behind the scenes? Maybe it's a family issue. You were mentioning his family. We're discussing this. It could be more of an influence from his family than it is from Raiola, because, even though Raiola always values money, of course, but you have to think that, you're tainting the player's image and his brand, because regardless of anything in the future, people are always going to see him as this snake. A lot of people are talking about Andrea Conti, who's reported to join Milan. His agent has been saying, we're only joining Milan. We only want Milan. And then he also stated that we're not going to be joining Atalanta for the preseason. We're not going to train with them. So Atalanta fans, I saw somebody on Twitter, if I could remember who it was, I'd reference you, but they were mentioning how if Andrea Conti just, regardless, Atalanta aren't a big club that aren't going to sell. Of course they're going to sell him. And he would have went to Milan regardless, no matter what. But now they're making all this big fuss. He's saying he doesn't want to stay at the club. And now the Atalanta fans, instead of thinking, oh, wow, we had this great player. He had a fantastic season. He led us to the Europa League. Now they're going to be thinking this guy's a snake too, because he's forcing his way out of the team for absolutely no reason, even though he probably would have left regardless. So you have to think that, fans have every single right to be acting this way, and that, apparently Donnarumma was actually crying reading all the comments and stuff. Like, what did you expect, man? Like, seriously, like, if you logically think about this, what did you think was going to happen if you betrayed the fans of your club and you made all these promises? And, you're a player that has a huge stature. Of course, players like Bonaventura have the same agent, with Raiola, but same with Abate. But the thing is that Donnarumma has so much pull because he's so young, and he's already regarded as arguably the best goalie in the league and one of the best in the world. For sure the best young goalie in the world. So, he has a lot of power. So he can really choose where he wants to go. Now, does he go to PSG? Does he go to Real Madrid? Who knows? But I just think that this decision to make the move at 18 years old, I was thinking, okay, maybe he stays 5 years. He'll be 22, 23 years old. And then by then he thinks, okay, I want something different. I want to change things up. Maybe Milan haven't won a Champions League by then. And he decided to make a move. I could have saw that. I could have respected that if he left in, a mature way. But I just think this is such a selfish way to leave the club that truly made you the player who you are. Of course, he always had the potential from his birth, I'm sure, because you can't be this special just by a coincidence. But when you think of it, if it wasn't for Mihailovic for showing faith in him that season, benching Diego Lopez, who was arguably Milan's best goalie before Donnarumma that we've ever had of all time, because we're never known for goalies. He took the risk. He benched him. He started Donnarumma, and his career just went on from there. But had Mihailovic not done that, he may have not gotten a shot until 21, 22 years old, because it's ridiculous to be playing a 16, 17-year-old in goalie at AC Milan with all that pressure. So I think he personally has to give something back to Milan just for that. And, I don't even think he's giving back by accepting a contract for €5 million, as you mentioned. That's like that is a ridiculous, ludicrous offer that he shouldn't even be thinking about. So personally, if you ask me, I think Donnarumma made a very bad decision. Maybe there's something behind the scenes that we don't know, but for now, from the information that we do know, I think he's a snake. There's nothing else you can say. He made a snake move. He decided to leave the club, and that he supposedly loved, which I'm sure he still is a fan of Milan. But things change when you're professional. But I just think that he could have made a better decision, and I do blame Raiola. I don't think he's innocent. People are saying, "Oh, yeah, but Donnarumma has full control." He does. He makes the final decision. But let's not pretend like Raiola wasn't plaguing his mindset and changing his perspective on things. But in the end, Donnarumma would have done it regardless because he's the one who hired him. He has full responsibility of the situation. And personally, I mean, I don't wish hate upon anybody, but I think if you're going to make a move like this, you should be expecting to getting mauled by fans.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said there, Raiola, he's known for brainwashing people. So I'm not surprised if that's the case. I always thought that Gigio was someone that, had a different mindset. It's very hard to come upon kids, or at least young adults like him at the moment, with a head on their shoulders. And that's the impression I think almost every fan got with Gigio. He was different. He was someone different. At least that's what everyone thought. But in reality, he really wasn't. And, just to come out like this and these news erupting on social media, on everywhere, it's personally, it doesn't do good to his image. It really doesn't do good to his image because even though he joins Madrid or he joins PSG or Man United, whatever team it is, I think this particular scenario or event that happened in his career, it's going to take a lot to override it. And by this, I mean that unless he becomes really the top goalkeeper in the world in the future with whichever club he's in, people will always remember this particular event. So this could really backfire him in a lot of ways, in my opinion, because if he does join another club and he doesn't become the successful goalkeeper that everyone was thinking that he would become, then I personally think that, Donnarumma would have made his biggest mistake of his career at such a young age. Then again, he still has a lot of playing time ahead of him. He could still recuperate. He could still bounce back from such a situation. But the amount of hatred right now that is going towards him, I think it's undeniable. It's something that is evident because, every fan was thinking that this guy would be the next legend, the next Bandiera, as they say. And at the moment, there's not many of those players out there. And everyone thought that Donnarumma was going to be one of those, and unfortunately, he's not going to be the case. But like I said before, I'm very, very curious about the future of Donnarumma, not only in the coming years, but especially this summer, because of course the transfer window does kick off officially on July the 1st. But it's going to be a very long summer, as it has already been, with Milan signing players already. But I'm very, very curious to see what's going to happen to Donnarumma. Is he going to stay? Is he going to get sold? Because let's not forget, he still has 1 year on this contract. So even though he does not want to renew his contract with Milan, technically he's still a Milan-owned player until they sell him. So what this means is that Milan has a decision, has the power, has the right to do anything they want with him. So they could technically keep him, and as a punishment, they could let him sit on the bench or in the stands and make him watch every game that Milan is playing. Or if he really does want to join Madrid, well, I guess he could watch it from the stands as well, unless they sell him to Madrid. And this is another big talking point which I wanted to talk about, Adamo. Of course, many people are saying sell him now, make the money, because by the time his contract expires next year, especially if he does not play anymore, his value will dramatically decrease as he's going to be inactive, and simply Milan will not be making the money that they should at least be getting from him, and they could also risk of getting rid of him for free, which is probably not going to be the case. But I think all arrows are pointing towards the direction of him getting sold this summer. Like I said, the few teams that are interested in him at the moment are mainly Real Madrid, PSG, Man U, and Juventus, of course. Chances are that he won't be joining Juventus, but anything could happen, like we saw with his rejection. But I think that even if he does join a club like Real Madrid, how instant of a success he could possibly have, I don't know. And will he even be starting games? I simply don't know. Like we saw the former goalkeeper Rossi right today. We were actually speaking about this before, and Adamo. Rossi even came out and said, I think he has the record for most minutes without conceding a single goal at Milan. And he told him, here's an autographed shirt, and I think it's going to be very hard for you to do this at Real Madrid. Shots fired? I think so. But, it's really the situation at the moment. Everyone, not only fans, but if you got actual former players, former Milan legends, and not only former Milan legends, actual, legends of the game itself, bashing this whole thing, Donnarumma has been doing something wrong. It cannot just be fans bashing him for being mad about the whole thing. It's actually former experienced players bashing this whole thing. And why are they bashing him? Because they know the type of guy that he is. They know that he's a guy that's going to have an amazing future, at least at Milan, that he was going to have one. But he took another direction, and he's not going to be having that future anymore at Milan. And like I said before, the thing with the club legends, the Bandiera, you don't see them anymore, and this guy could have definitely been one of them. But unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. Let's talk about potential replacements now, because there are a few names on the agenda that Milan have already started to talks with. Mainly guys like Neto, the Juventus goalkeeper, Perin, Leno, also from Bayer Leverkusen, is another option. I think I'm missing a few on top of my head here. But who do you think could be a very decent replacement here for Donnarumma coming in next season?
I mean, there's a lot of options, as you mentioned. I think we're also linked to Skorupski, who had an amazing season at Empoli. I think owned by Roma now, but, Milan still could work a deal out, as they do have Alisson, who's most likely to start in their goal, and they wouldn't want to waste him on the bench, of course, and they do need the money, so you never know. But Neto, he's at Fiorentina. I remember him being very, very shaky in the beginning, and then he grew into actually being a decent goalie. Nothing too crazy. He wasn't even close to the level of Donnarumma, of course, but he became a decent goalie. And then he decided that, I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to grow as a player, so he went to go join Juventus and just sit on the bench forever and not play a single game. So, that was the decision he made. And, he's not too old either. I think he's only 27, 28, something along those lines, which isn't too old for a goalie. But I do remember him being decent at Fiorentina. Haven't seen him much at Juve. I think that was a bad career decision, but I'm sure, he won some trophies, had a good time. He made the decision, and it's fine. But I think I wouldn't be mad with Neto in net because, little pun there, not bad. But I wouldn't be mad about that because a lot of people have been mentioning that even though we're losing Donnarumma, last season our midfield and our defense was so much worse off. We had so many, poor links, like just corrupted minds on the pitch that could not do the job. And, obviously the goalkeeping position, if you have a solidified defense, isn't as important. And I don't think he'll be facing nearly as many shots as Donnarumma did. So it will be a completely different story. But besides that, I wouldn't mind him if we did sign him. But my ideal choice would be along the lines of Perin because, even though he has had a few injuries, I don't necessarily think he's injury prone. I just think he had, a series of unfortunate events that it just so happened to happen almost back to back. I'm pretty sure in the same season he got two terrible injuries. But, I still would have faith in Perin. And I think that, before Donnarumma, he was like, everybody's saying, Perin's going to be the next big thing. Italy set forever. He's going to be like Buffon, blah, 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 all this and that. And he's still an amazing goalie. It's just he got hit with those injuries, which really, stunted his career at Genoa for that season. So you got to think you want to play the risk of signing the overall better goalkeeper who's still extremely young in Perin, or do you go somebody like Neto, or do you even go somebody like Skorupski who had an amazing season at Empoli and again, facing a lot of shots but still managed to help keep them in the position that they've been in. and I think that he would be a great option as well. But if you ask me, I would prefer Perin because a lot of people are actually talking about Brizzari, who's been an amazing goalie for Italy's under-20 team. And, I remember Galliani back then saying something along the lines like, oh, Brizzari's just as good as Donnarumma, if not better. And this was before Donnarumma got, his big shot. But obviously he's probably exaggerating there. I don't think there's going to be another Donnarumma in who knows how many decades possibly. But I think that, should we sign Perin, he goes down with an injury, which I just don't think will happen, but you never know. Could be the case. You have not necessarily a reliable goalkeeper, but you have a young goalie who's just waiting for his chance. And, he'll put a lot of faith into himself and will want to perform just like Donnarumma did. And, maybe there'll be more pressure to succeed because, Donnarumma was never going to finish in third place with that Milan team. But now that we're actually signing players, there's going to be some pressure on him to actually perform. So, regardless, I think the fact that, the Chinese takeover led to a better overall Milan team for the other 10 players on the pitch besides the goalkeeper, I think that regardless of who we sign, as long as he's decent, possibly Leno as well, as long as they're a decent goalkeeper, I think Milan will be perfectly fine. Personally, I pick Perin. Leno's a great goalie, but he does make a lot of mistakes. He's very mistake prone. And, I think any of those options I would take. Neto, Perin, Skorupski, Leno, all of them, decent goalies, not amazing, but I think they'll do the job that Milan needs. And I don't think that their performance will bring us anywhere, lower or higher. I think they're just there to get the job done.
Yeah, well, good points there, Adamo, because personally, like you said, we did reinforce our outfield players, and I think that was the major priority this summer. I think we have done a good job so far. There still have a few players missing, a few spots that still need to be reinforced. But like you said, I think the goalkeeper definitely plays its part. It's a very important position. But as I was reading some of the old timers, I guess you could say on Twitter, goalkeepers for Milan, it's not like we've always had great goalkeepers. If you recall, like before Donnarumma, yes, Abbiati was there. He was a good goalkeeper. Diego Lopez was a good goalkeeper as well, but the real excellent goalkeeper just before that, I think, was only Dida. And besides that, it's not like we always had world-class, out-of-the-league type of goalkeepers. So, really, I think it's the outfield players that win everything. You still need a decent guy, like you said. You still need a decent goalkeeper, a guy that's going to get the job done, that's going to pull out those clutch saves. But all I really care about is that we do get someone that's reliable, someone that, does not get injured all the time. Like Perin, you said it's a good option, but to me, the major problem with him is the injuries. I just hope that it doesn't reoccur again and again, because what's the point of really getting a starting goalkeeper if he's just going to keep getting injured? Then you mentioned the thing about Plizzari. Of course, a guy that's going to be good to have as a backup, but not just yet as a starter. This guy could maybe play a few games in the league, definitely some Coppa Italia games this season, given the fact that we're also going to be playing in the Europa League, so that's competing on 3 fronts now, something that Milan hasn't been doing in the past few years. So the whole situation kind of changes now. But Plizzari could definitely get his experience this year. Like I said, I don't think he's going to become the goalkeeper that Donnarumma was, and not in terms of ability, in terms of actual playing style, but in terms of playing every single game like Donnarumma was. I don't think Plizzari is going to be that type of goalkeeper, at least for now at Milan. That's why we need someone reliable. All the choices mentioned are pretty good choices. I'm not really disappointed with them. I just want someone that's reliable, that's going to be staying at the club for at least a good time and not leave after a year and a half or two. Donnarumma. But that's just besides the point. We need someone reliable, doesn't get injured, someone that could command as well, because we need a strong figure that could, dictate exactly the defense, how they should be playing and so forth. I don't want just a quiet guy being in net, waiting for the shot to come. I want someone that could, organize and dictate exactly what is going in front of him. But definitely, it's going to be a long summer. As soon as we're going to have updates concerning the Donnarumma potential sale, we're going to be giving you these updates, and of course, we'll be definitely looking forward to who's going to be the replacement for next season. So make sure you stay subscribed to Rossoneri TV, or subscribe if you haven't yet, to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. Of course, like I said before, unfortunately, we won't be making daily videos, but expect at least 1 or 2 videos a week to come out and keep you guys updated with the latest Milan news and rumors. Thank you all for coming out today in numbers. I'll be seeing you guys soon, hopefully. This has been Gio and Adamo saying off from Rossoneri TV, and as always, Forza Milan.